Hey everybody, it's Jordan Elizabeth Gelber from Fanbolt. I am live at the virtual Pop Expo panel red carpet. We just got live and finished with the Ellie. Can I start over? Because I totally ruined that. I was like, what am I saying? With all these words.
Please tell me you're doing a Jordan Gelber blooper reel at the end of this.
This is all just like one recording, so you can just start over.
Great.
Third time is the charm. You got it.
Yeah, third time lucky.
Thank you.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Hi everybody, it's Jordan Elizabeth Gelber with Fanbolt. I'm live on the virtual pop carpet after the MuggleNet panel featuring Chris, Tolga, and Stan from Harry Potter, as well as Kat and Eric from MuggleNet. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. I truly enjoyed your panel. So I have to ask, how is this virtual experience for you with the convention?
It's really enjoyable. I know I've done a couple of sort of Zoom casty, twitchy things over the last few weeks, and I know I did one with Stan last week. Tolga, have you done any, Tolga, or is this your?
No, this is my first one. So thank you, MuggleNet, for bringing me in. Yeah, my first one. It's very easy. Really enjoyed it. I mean, the time just flew by. I could have done at least another hour or two. But yeah, I'm not very technically minded, so this is all kind of new to me. But I'm very happy to be here.
It's the thing, though, isn't it? Once you start chatting, it's the same when we do live Q&As at events as well. You're just like, how has this been 45 minutes? Can we please do 3 more hours?
You're like, can we not sit here for another 2 hours? Yeah. And they're like, no, you need to get back to your table.
No, the people from Buffy are waiting to come on.
Yeah.
Is that the truth?
Well, there's a Power Ranger coming in.
Which one? Doesn't matter.
They're all the
I mean, I feel like we all feel silly for not like really investing in Zoom before this entire quarantine.
I'd never heard of it.
Is it
not shade Zoom? I love it, but I'd never heard of it.
Interesting. I mean, there's so many unique platforms right now that I think it's so great for people to connect to their desired communities. How have you guys been able to connect to your fans through this weird quarantine experience?
I mean, the social media thing's always good, isn't it? You know, Twitter and Instagram and all that kind of, especially for me, especially Twitter, right? That seems to be my kind of social media home. But I've been doing bits and bobs on YouTube as well. I did a virtual choir, which was quite fun. I got a load of people together from around the world, and we recorded a song together, and I put it all together and put it up on my YouTube channel, which was a lot of fun. And I think it seems to have brought a smile to a few people's faces. So that's always something. But we've still got we've got another 3 weeks in lockdown here, so I'm sure there'll be plenty of other things to go.
Oh, that's a really good point. So first of all, Chris, I love watching all your singing videos. We rock out to them. But how, for all of you, has the quarantine experience been? Like, so you have 3 weeks left. I'm in New York City. They just extended it to June 6th. How is it for each of you?
It's been all right, actually. It hasn't been too bad. It could have been a lot worse, but I'm in London with my parents. I get on with them really well. We've got a decent house, which has kept us really busy. Lots of DIY, and just hanging out with my parents has actually been really nice. Watching TV and cooking together and eating together and stuff. It's actually been pretty cool.
Cool, I love it.
Well, for me, we were one of the first countries to go in lockdown, like complete lockdown, and that was on the Friday the 13th of March.
Oh,
and
good start. Yeah.
Yeah, so very early, and it was a complete lockdown. We were only allowed to go out to the grocery store, to the pharmacy, or a hospital. So that was it. And lockdown is kind of coming to an end over here. We've been doing pretty well, just under 2,000 cases, and we're really low on death rates. So I hope that this change that they're implementing on the 13th this month won't boost numbers up. But we've been doing pretty well. Unfortunately, or fortunately for me, I was injured during this whole time, and I've just recovered. So I'm getting back to normal, back to my training. I'm going to go riding on my bike. So just the usual stuff. But, it's been, I'm sure a lot of people have found it quite nice to be finally having that time that we always say we don't have for home. you know, just to get on with your own things. And, you know, some of us are stuck with our family. You know, I have my mom and my sister around me all day. So it's just a nice, different feeling to have all that endless time on our hands for ourselves and at home.
I mean, you can't put off those excuses of, oh, I don't have time to finish it anymore. So I know
Absolutely,
for me,
yeah.
I know for me, like doing this like virtual con experience, which was brand new, has been a way to stay creative during this time. But a lot of people from home, I really love, first of all, that you guys touched upon beyond the veil. I think, Kat, that's a really great point, the mental awareness that a lot of people, this is not many of us are introverts or used to working from home. How are each of you staying creatively motivated at this time? I know that for us, it's kind of like we wake up and it's the same routine, but I love how Chris is doing the choir and, you know, Tolga's doing DIY and Stan is running all the mountains. What else are you guys doing to stay creative?
Climbing the mountains.
Well, it's not, I have to say, for me anyway, I can't speak for anybody else, but it's not been the easiest of times to be creative, because for me, being creative involves performing and being in front of people and with other people and sort of working with people and bouncing energy around. And it's a completely different experience to be doing that from your home. I run a theatre group here in Wales, a community theatre project, and we've been trying to keep that alive and keep our theatre members sort of active and creative as well. So it's not easy, and I know a lot of people have really struggled, not just in the creative industries, but sort of in general with this new normal, because it's not normal. And I think the thing that I've really taken away in the last few weeks is that it's okay to kind of be at a bit of a loss. You don't, you know, we all see, you know, all of a sudden, especially on social media and stuff, don't we? It's all full of people going, oh, well, I've repainted my house and completely stripped the garden and, you know, I'm running miles and miles like my mum. But it's okay to also just be sat under a blanket at home binging Netflix all day if that's what makes you feel okay about it. Or do, you know, there should be no pressure to feel like you have to learn ancient Greek in the next 3 weeks. Like,
I agree with Chris, because I think, you know, hopefully sooner rather than later, life will slowly start to return to some kind of normality, and we are all going to be looking back at these times and thinking, actually, I wish I had more time to be at home again, just not doing anything. So I think no one should be too hard on themselves and feel like, oh, like Chris said, I have to learn another language or I have to write a novel. Like, just, you know, yes, be proactive. I mean, I find it myself. I mean, today has just been a day of nothing. But the rest of the week, you know, I've had stuff to do. Fortunately, we've had good weather here in the UK. So I've been outside in our garden a lot. But I've started writing, which sounds really exciting, but it's like literally I've written like 2 pages of something. But that's something I wouldn't have done if this lockdown wasn't forced on me. So, but I'm also not like, oh, I must have this finished by the time this is over. I'm just like, I've started it. When I feel like it, I'll sit there for a half an hour or an hour, you know, do a few sentences, and then I'll just get on with my day and watch a movie or something.
I know on the podcast MuggleCast, we've really tried to engage the listeners more often. We know that a lot of people are sitting at home. A lot of people are having more time to not only listen to our show, but to interact. And it's been a real challenge to try and do more interactive segments. So we actually launched, we did 3 now at this point, live trivia events that last about an hour and a half or so. We had to come up with Harry Potter trivia questions, various topics, various things, but we've seen a lot of engagement from that. And people are home and people are passionate and people really want to spend more time. And we've done a couple of smaller, I guess, coffee scratches, coffee talks kinds of things to just really keep people, give them something to do, because some people are, they're looking for that. And it really feels like community. That's the great thing, is spending time with as many people as possible while still being safe.
Yeah.
Well,
and that comes back. Sorry, go on, Stan.
No, I was just going to put something in here that we are very lucky actually during this time to have internet. Imagine this.
Wow.
30 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we are kind of still together now thanks to internet, and you know, as you all guys mentioned, we have social media, which kind of gives a different feel. Yes, we are at home, but we are still together out there, you know, in that virtual space. If we didn't have internet, and I've been thinking about this lately, what if we didn't have internet? What, you know, no phones, no communication. It's only been, what, 25 years since we've had internet, 25,
Right.
30 years, you know, good internet that would allow live streaming and, you know, connections like these. What if we didn't have that? So we are
It's great that we have got these things. I mean, what MuggleNet is doing with, you know, with this panel and the other stuff that you guys are doing is, I think that you're filling a void, for Harry Potter fans, and you're also giving a lot of Harry Potter fans, because we, you know, not every Harry Potter fan gets to go to a convention to meet up and sit and watch a panel, you know. So to have access to that through what you guys are doing, being able to talk to us and ask us questions and see us, you know, live, is a great thing. And I think it should continue once this is over, because you're taking something that actually a small number of people had access to by traveling to wherever a convention was. Now you're being able to bring it into their homes, and they're being able to enjoy and be part of it too. I think it's a great thing.
We definitely did have a conversation sort of site-wide. So we have about 150 volunteers around the globe. And sort of when all this started, we had some meetings and some chats, and we were like, okay, this is our time to shine, because we already operate on the internet digitally all the time. And so we were like, we have a list of things that we want to do, and it's just a matter of figuring out how to execute them. And this is really only just the beginning. Even when things open back up and we have some sort of normalcy, whatever that looks like, our lives are still going to be more online than they ever were before. Yeah. So I think this is only the beginning for digital creations and stretching the limits of that technology. So
yeah. I mean, let's be honest, it's going to be a while before we have a convention in the sense that we've been used to for the last 15, 20 years.
Well, you know. Even Chris, what you were saying about the theater, I can't imagine sitting in an auditorium and having like my arms bunched up because somebody's next to me and somebody's next to me, and there's.
Well, I was reading an article actually just before we did this chat today from The Stage, which is the sort of the UK's theatre industry newspaper, about projected ideas of what a theatre in socially distanced world could look like, and it's alarming. Quite honestly, I think, you know, theatre is a luxury for a start. You know, it's not a necessity in terms of it's not a vital public service, and therefore, never gets the funding it needs anyway. But that's fine for now. But it's going to be one of the last things I fear to come back is the entertainment industry in the live sense, because it relies on people being in the same place at the same time. Even, you know, conventions rely on, you know, a few thousand people being essentially shoved into a small space together for a day. A theatre involves the same thing. So do, you know, live concerts, things like that. It's all about gathering together to experience a live experience, and that's fundamentally going to change. I mean, could you imagine sitting in a theatre where you have to sit every other seat and every other row alternately, and then potentially phase, then not have an intermission because you can't use the bar, because you can't line up at the bar. Like everything about the theatre is going to change. It's fascinating and terrifying at the same time.
That's such a big point. I mean, here in the city with Broadway, we're feeling the pain really, really potently. And I think, you know, to another point that you made, because I was recently in London a few months ago, and I learned all about like Spotlight and your entire like entertainment community and how actors work there, and just the fact that your standstill is, as even though we're feeling the same pain, it's totally different. And the way that things are going to start moving forward between like Los Angeles and London and New York, etc. But, you know, to your point about the conventions, you know, the purpose of this great virtual pop expo is because of the loss of like San Diego Comic-Con and what may or may not be New York Comic-Con. I'm still going to knock wood, but I don't think so now that it's currently like a hospital here in New York City. But what do you guys think that the virtual expo has that's unique and brings to the table versus other conventions? I know Tolga mentioned being able to connect to fans around the world that might not have the opportunity to come to a convention, or even like, for example, stands in Bulgaria. If you weren't able to attend an expo, you now are able to because of this wonderful technology. But is there anything else that you guys think really stands out?
I love the virtual background aspect of
yeah.
coming to you from space. Yeah, you can choose it. It's a Zoom feature.
Oh, really?
It's great. Yeah, yeah.
This
So
boring white wall that I'm sat against.
yeah, no,
You know, with these Zoom besties when this is over, it'd be great.
Oh yeah.
The thing for me about conventions, and this is sort of across the board, is that I feel like, and I'm going to try and say this without like offending anybody, but they have in some ways become almost a bit more about like the profits. And I know that that's not necessarily true for the people who attend them, but sometimes I think it is for the people who attend them. So what I'm looking forward to with, you know, virtual conventions is that, as Tolga said, they're just going to be more accessible. I think you're not going to have to travel somewhere and then pay, you know, for a ticket and then an absorbent amount of money to like maybe meet somebody for 5 seconds or whatever. Maybe you'll instead get to sit and watch a panel and really experience them for 45 minutes. Sure, you're not standing directly next to them, and I see the value in both, but I'm looking forward to the accessibility of it all, for sure.
That's a really great point. Anyone else? I mean, I think to your point, you know, it's very true. You know, I wasn't able to attend San Diego Comic-Con this year, so to me, the fact that it wasn't happening, I felt bad for a lot of my friends who are publishers, who are vendors, who wait all year to build their, you know, company and have an exclusive, and now aren't even able to share that with the world because it's, you know, it's a passion. This is all passion oriented. And I think for you guys, it's really beautiful for us to even have and share a conversation, because I don't think we would have been able to, on even a typical red carpet, had the chance to communicate like we are right now. So I really enjoy the, you know, the more personal touch.
One of the positives to come out of what has happened, I mean, obviously it's mainly negatives, clearly, but there are some positives, and I think this is proof of it. And I do also believe that this would have come eventually, this kind of virtual expo panel stuff that we're experiencing now, but I also believe it is the future. We're not at that stage yet with, you know, having holograms and stuff like that, but the world is heading that way, and I think conventions will head that way. And you know, this is proof of that. It's probably come a little bit earlier, and you know, there are going to be teething issues and problems, but it's heading the right way, and you guys are proof of that. What we're doing right now is proof of that, and it is the future. You know, for MuggleNet, I think you guys have got so much that you can explore with actors and with fans, and you know, anyone involved, anyone in the creative industry side of Harry Potter. You're bringing it into people's rooms. And that's an amazing thing.
Definitely.
I think, you know, I personally think that the two worlds can work together, because you need to remember a lot of people use you know, the real conventions to get out of reality, to get out of their everyday lives, dress up and experience a magical weekend, you know, dressed up as the Joker, or, you know, someone from Harry Potter, or, you know, just a different kind of experience to get out of the normal everyday life. And this, of course, you cannot really cosplay online. It's a completely different experience. And to be honest, I'd rather have this that we have here live and be able to hug and, you know, take a picture and just have the real feel. But I think that the two can work together. I mean, especially on panels, you know.
There's definitely a world for both. I think, there's elements of that physical, like you said, Stan, like of the physical connection you get when you meet somebody in real life. And I've had it as a fan at a convention as well. I've been stood on the other side of the desk waiting to meet somebody that I look up to, or I've loved watching on the TV or on stage or in film. And you can't get that same feeling through this medium. But there is so much more that you can do through this medium, like we are here. You know, we're doing a panel that is not necessarily just limited to the people who are in a 300-mile radius of whatever convention center it is.
Yeah,
definitely. So unfortunately we have to wrap it up, but I want to thank you all. I have two very quick questions. One is, I know that one of the big pushes for this entire convention is the fact that we're also spreading awareness of different organizations that are really giving back at this time. Is there any organization or charity that you are each working with right now that you would like to give a shout out to?
I'd like to give a shout out. It's not one that I'm working with directly, but in a way perhaps I am because I have access to it, is the National Health Service here in the UK, which is doing, I mean, they do a phenomenal job anyway and have done all of our lives here in the UK. But I mean, anyone on the front line making people's lives, trying to heal, comforting people is beyond comprehension for me. I can't even begin to fathom it. So yeah, shout out to the NHS and thank you. I'm out there every Thursday night at 8 o'clock clapping along with most of the UK. It's great.
It's great.
I work with, I do a lot of work with a non-profit in the States called Transfiguring Adoption, who are as the name suggests, a charity that work with adopted and foster families, and use a lot of the messaging that's sort of in Harry Potter and in other young adult fiction to kind of help families find resources, and they give families resources to help them with some of the things that you go through when you're an adopted child, a foster child, or an adoptive or foster parent for that matter. There's a lot. I was adopted at birth, so it's a company and a group of people that are very, very close to my heart, and they're doing wonderful things at the moment. I did a live reading of the chapter of a book with them last week, I think it was, and they're doing wonderful things at the moment as well. And also there's Ness, my partner, and I do a lot of work with Pride in the UK, the Pride movement, and there's a charity here called the Albert Kennedy Trust that do a lot of work. Their specific work is for LGBTQ youth who are homeless or live in hostile environments. So people who are living with families who don't agree with their gender or sexuality, for instance. And right now, when you can't really go anywhere, there's a lot of people that are stuck in houses where their life is not approved of.
That's great.
Yeah, I'd like to give a big shout out to everybody over here in Bulgaria involved with organization called Because We're Human, Because We're People. I'm translating it from my language. What they do is they go to different places in different cities and they leave bags with food for people in need to go and just take, because a lot of people have lost their jobs, a lot of people are homeless, and a lot of people don't have access to money or food. So a lot of people have been coming together, just, leaving bread and all sorts of products all over the place for people who don't have access and ability to have something to eat. So a big shout out to everybody involved with this. And a huge thank you to all the doctors worldwide who are putting their own lives at risk, not seeing their families for weeks and weeks. And we've all seen the marks and the difficulties they've been getting through in order for us to be able to come back to normal and save a lot of lives. So a big, big thank you to all who are in the front line involved with fighting this invisible enemy that we are all facing.
Can I give a quick shout out?
Yeah, please, and then I have to sadly wrap it up. But yes, please give a shout out.
Sure. So I want to give a quick shout out to the Protego Foundation. So they are they work with protecting beasts, both magical and Muggle, in the communities. And one of their biggest campaigns that people might know them for is the Accio vegan butterbeer. So they've been working really hard to get Warner Brothers to have a vegan butterbeer option for people who aren't able to have dairy or don't want to have dairy, don't want to consume the dairy. So shout out to Protego. They're doing awesome work.
So everybody, before we wrap up, I just want everyone to give a quick, just where they can find you and your social, all that good stuff. So just run on the list. Everyone just give a nice big shout out, and then I will say thank you again for all being here. So yeah, Kat, please let everyone know where they can find out MuggleNet.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So MuggleNet is across all the platforms. Of course, we are just at MuggleNet everywhere. you know, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're on Pinterest now. We have a YouTube page, all of that. Go check us out. I'm personally on Twitter at RubyWizard24.
Everything Kat said, I'm on Twitter at Spielerman, Spielerman. You can find me there.
I use Twitter and Instagram a lot, so you can find me. My first name, Tolga_Safer. It's the same for both. You won't find many Tolga Safers on there, so if you just type my name in, I'll put that.
Chris?
Oh, I'm different on all of them because I'm complicated like that. So on Twitter,
I'm bring them under one umbrella, Chris.
I know I need to, but it's at Chris Rankin on Twitter and at CW Rankin on Instagram. I've got Facebook as well, and my YouTube is That Ginger Bloke. If in doubt, if it says Chris Rankin next to it and it's got a blue tick, it's definitely me.
I'm verified on Instagram, so Stan_Yanevski, and all my platforms are connected to Instagram. So I have my Facebook, which is exactly with the same name. Twitter is exactly the same. And I have a YouTube where I upload a lot of my traveling, especially with the bike, which is again Stan_Yanevski. And I'm trying to get my Facebook page verified to eliminate all the fakes out there too. So Stan_Yanevski pretty much everywhere with a Y.
Well, I thank all of you so much. This has just been amazing. I really appreciate just being able to hang out with you guys. And again, this is Jordan Elizabeth Gelber with Fanbolt, and back to the Virtual Pop Expo, and see y'all soon.
Thank you, Jordan.
Bye.
Thanks, bye.
Thank you.